This is your daily Forex trading strategy session. Today we're going to do some technical analysis. We'll review the news. Apparently it's just whatever foot Theresa May sticks in her mouth that moves the market, but I'm cool with that. We also got the FOMC meeting minutes coming out later today. Could be awesome. But remind yourself, life is great, life is grand, life is good, life is beautiful. So let's trade that way, huh? Let's play the happy music. Oh, hang on, misspelled it. Yeah, so good morning. Welcome to Forex.Today. Let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. So please always stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Just to make sure, let's do the long version. Welcome to Forex.Today. Let me remind you that the purpose of this presentation is education. This is not an alert service. I am not here to make trade recommendations. I will conduct technical and fundamental analysis, and I'll do so in real time, pip by pip, candle by candle, with the overriding goal of helping you put together trade plans throughout this New York trading session. If you're trading along with me using a demo account, then regardless of whether your plans are successful or not, you will have an opportunity to learn. Trading and investing is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results, so please always stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Wow! That always makes me all tingly inside. I love it. Hey, my name is Wayne McDonell. I'm the Chief FX Market Strategist for TradersWay.com. When you pull the trigger with our platform, we execute it quickly. We don't hold the other side of your trade. Some other brokers out there say they're non-dealing desk. I don't know what that means, but when the Swiss National Bank or some other black swan event happens, they lose hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. You're like, but I thought you were a non-dealing desk. Anyway, so we're actually a true ECN, so what happens is you place a trade and it goes directly into the interbanking system. That's the way to do it. I like it. And I like you, and I want you to succeed. So we do these sessions every day, and I'm here to share my years and 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 years, blood, sweat, and tears for years, experiences with you, with the hopes that you could become hugely successful as soon as possible. And then when you open up a live account at TradersWay to start your Forex trading business, you'll have the skills you'll need to be a success. It's a pretty good idea, right? So we do these sessions 7:30 in the morning, New York time, which is approximately London lunch, Monday through Thursday here at Forex.Today. And every Friday I'm at FX Street for premium members, and I am also Forex Speaker of the Year. Yay! You speak it a good. You speak it a gusht. All right, cool. Yeah, so let me describe what happened last, I guess, I don't know, roughly 12 hours ago. I'm staring at the charts going, oh my God, the pound just keeps falling and falling. Just amazing yesterday, huh? I'm thinking, man, every day I drilled into you guys. Every day. Have a bias, trade that bias. Have a bias, trade that bias. Have that bias, trade the bias. I'm just thinking, I hope you're loving it. That's all I could think of. And then yesterday, I guess, I don't know, it was about Asia or something. finally the pound, like pound yen, for example, stabilized, I don't know, somewhere 120 something, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, it stabilized and all of a sudden it popped. I'm like, oh, moved up. I'm like, ooh, that could be dangerous because now you're going against all the moving averages and all that kind of stuff, right? And then up, and then up, and then all of a sudden spike up. I'm like, dude, was that 80 pips in 3 minutes? And all of a sudden, wow, it's going the other way. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's very upsetting emotionally, right? Very emotionally upsetting. How do you guys feel about situations like that? I mean, it's crazy, right? You're like, oh, and the worst thing about those types of moves is that's probably when decent traders do lose money. Because what it does is, I don't know, I guess you're looking at this chart. Just imagine moving averages. What happens, I don't know, I'm not looking at any particular chart here, but what happens though is price decouples, if you will, from moving averages because it falls so fast. And then it's got to pull back to, let's say, the 5 EMA, then the 21 EMA, and then the 55 EMA. But it usually doesn't, it usually doesn't just cut through. You know what I mean? Like it's very unusual market behavior. But turns out, at the time I couldn't really figure out what was going on because, I'm not streaming UK politics live. Maybe I should be. But socialist pig dog commie Theresa May. Wait, I shouldn't say all those things. I've actually never heard her speak, but I can see how the market reacts when she speaks, and it's very upsetting and a little bit confusing. Is what I see. The market's response to what she says. So I don't know what she actually says. But apparently she finally said something reasonable yesterday, and that was enough to spike it up the other way. But keep in mind, last week when she was talking about, like, I don't know, like, some sort of drunken slur about the Bank of England, and that kind of stuff kills your currency, huh? Well, and then so anyways, yesterday she said something like, I don't know, she was actually going to try to do something good for the economy, and there you go. So it made me think of what is actually fairly common when you get new political leaders in power. They're not used to the power. They're not used to saying something sort of off the cuff. Let me tell you how it is. I'm a straight shooter. Let me tell you, right? Let me talk to my electorate. And they start saying their political rhetoric, maybe the kind of stuff that got them into power, but now actually the rest of the world is listening. And you can throw away a couple of £100 billion worth of value out of your economy because you decided to shoot from the hip, right? Bernanke did it. Did Yellen do it? No, I don't know if Yellen's actually had a moment like that. But anyways, it's a fairly common thing. You can almost wait for the mistake. It's just part of the learning process, right? So talking to her party last week killed the pound, right? Is that, well, see, so Ryan's like, people have asked for resignations and stuff. So anyways, that's one reason I don't read like newspapers or listen to TV. And the stuff up there, like that you can see on my screen, there's no sound. I don't actually listen to them. It makes me nauseous. But I try to stay away from all that kind of stuff. That just, like, comments like that just seem like stuff that sells more newspapers. It adds to the controversy. What did she say? What does he say? What are they going to do? Who cares? Yeah, all noise. Yeah, so I just try to stay away from that. So I'm not questioning her. I'm just saying, I can see the market's response. And if you start babbling something about, that could question the independence of the central bank, then, you're going to get punished. So anyways, let's move on to that. But it was breathtaking to see it drop and then rise so quickly. Yeah, just a little bit scary. That's how it goes. Welcome to the world of trading, right? That's why they invented stop losses. All right, so nothing going on here. This is our peso. Although it is, maybe I shouldn't say that nothing going on here, but it did come down. Stop at the monthly pivot. And I don't know, is it time for it to weaken? Has this become another oil play? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not ready to really start cornering the market on Mexican peso, but the carry is nice. I wish I could get peso yen, right, or something like that. But it might be time to even start, messing around with Swiss franc. Maybe we should probably do some Swiss franc today, and get away from some of the yen and stuff. But it'd be interesting, to buy peso just simply because of the carry on it. And if Trump loses, the Mexican peso will gain value. If Trump wins, it will lose value. And so if you wanted to play one side of that, the political ticket, that's one way that you do it. Now, I wouldn't do it that way, but, stupid is, stupid does. You can trade it any way you want. Okay. So anyways, there's a commodity play maybe, right? But again, this would probably be a bad place to sell, just simply because it seems to me we're at a supportive zone, right? The very least. And if you wanted to buy, which means you're buying US dollar and selling Mexican peso, you got to keep your eyes on the prize, right? Time of day is good with New York opening. Wouldn't be a shocker to have dollar strength, right? And what kind of pattern would you play here? You'd play it probably like a triple bottom, wouldn't you? Right? You can see other people are playing the 19, right? So what they're doing is it gets up to about 19. You can see it's pretty close here, 19. And remember where all the stops would be. If you were a bear, your stops are going to be kind of in this zone. Okay. So if you want this to continue down, you're going to want something like that. But really, I think, maybe even take this a little higher, make it more like a 786618 kind of thing. Yeah, I guess that's more realistic. I was going to do one from here to here or from the upper one to there. It might be a three-wave correction. I don't know if any Elliott wave boys are in here. But you might want to, well, 1, 2, 3. Well, it seems like an Elliott waves kind of thing to do, right? 4, 5. And then three-wave correct. This one should be shallower though, right? I don't know. Maybe one day I'll do an Elliott wave course. What do you think? Would that help my career? Become like some sort of chartered Elliott wave guy. Well, you know what? I should probably finish my master's degree at Harvard first. Yeah, let me do that. and then maybe the Elliott wave thing. I'm just saying. Yeah, it's all sorted out, right? Yeah, for your, yeah, if you had a list, I mean, you just, so. Anyway, so you could do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe, but I don't know. I'm kind of sick of these plays. It's funny, like the moves like yesterday. It's such an emotional thing. And I know we try to pretend we're robots and stuff, but we're not. And it's amazing to go, wow, this is so great. Look at the pound fall. Is that another 50 pips? My God, right? And then it's like the full-on full reversal all the way up. Weird time of day and everything. You're like, what the frick is going on with this pound? And and if you had played it close to your chest, like maybe you should have been, then you got punished. And if you were a scalper, maybe you made a ton of money, but then maybe you gave it all back on the way back, because it was supposed to continue back down, extend back down, not reverse 100% in a V shape. And, you just go, you know what I mean? Like, it's so emotionally draining. And all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to piss around with Mexican peso. You're just like too tired. Just like, screw that. Who's got time? Right? Or maybe it's just me. So, this is me thinking oil, the increase in oil should increase the value of the Noki versus the dollar, and we never got that. But you would have to assume higher oil prices would help Norway, right? But let me change this to seek and destroy. Check this out. Boom! Check that out. All those Nobel Prizes leaving Sweden. All that gold is leaving Sweden. That's the US dollar versus the Swedish crown. Holy smokes, huh? Look at that. Even through the monthly R2. Holy schnicker-schnocker. Did you guys trade that one? Have you been watching that one? Wowzer, huh? Now what do we do? Check it out. Boom. Amazing, huh? Look at that. But what do you do now, huh? But holy smokes. I think this is one of those currencies where you make 1,000 pips a day. Yeah. Remember years ago there was like Thai baht slash yen, or there was not even yen, there was another one. Thai baht versus something, and it was something like you making like 5,000 pips a day. Now each pip was worth like 0, right? So it didn't matter financially, but you're like, dude, look at me. I make 5,000 pips a day, and they're worth $50. Yeah. So how did the Rand do, Ryan? Another bad day? Yeah. Just above R14, huh? Yeah. Amazing. I remember just having a conversation with, a couple of hundred South Africans. Just seems like yesterday. I'm like, what's going to happen to the Rand? And everybody's like, it's going to fall. Like, well, you better do something about it. No one else is going to take care of you. You better do something. I remember talking about Brazil and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, what do you guys? I remember the whole room's like, oy vey, we got to get this rand. You could feel it. Everybody knew it was going to like fall off of the cliff. You know, it was funny. It was like somber. Like it was like standing there, like you knew the tsunami is coming. You're like, look, there's no water at the beach anymore. I think I'll just sit down now. I'm too old to run. I'm too tired. So here it is, right? Wow. But we'll see. You know, maybe gold comes back. I don't know. The one thing that's going to save South Africa in the short term is more negative interest rates from somebody. But you know, you got to take your millions and get it out. Yeah, I suppose, Daniel, the problem is if your $500 is in rand, you end up having, you know, if the rand drops by 10%, your account just lost 10%. So, but it's an interesting thing being in another country like that where you face these problems and you know it's coming. And the one story I was telling at that time is how South African companies are actually more profitable. They love it when the rand is cheap, cheap, cheap. Because if you're a gold mine, for example, you get paid in U.S. dollars, but you pay your South African employees in rand. Yeah, Ryan's like, yeah, okay. But what I'm saying though is, let's say you fund a new account today, and you know, anyways, whatever. It's just not good. It's not good. So you got to get your money out. So, you know, my South African brothers and sisters should move to London and buy some flats or something. So anyways, this is Seek. This is Sweden losing money. So maybe, I don't know if you want to get on that, but look at that. We've even blown through the monthly and weekly pivots. That's how big yesterday was. This is what I'm kind of pointing at. Maybe go to a 4 hour instead of daily, or even hourly. Check it out. I mean, like weekly target, monthly target. We're through the extreme targets. Holy crap. Right? So maybe this is something we trade a little bit more. But that looks like ruble to me. What's going on in Sweden? What's so bad with Sweden? Feel bad. Should write the king a letter. Gold. Gold, yeah. Nada. But again, this is your South African rand, basically, isn't it? It's not looking bullish, is it? I'm telling you, if interest rates go up, South African rand's going to go down. If Japan or Europe or Switzerland comes out and says, "Hey, we're going to increase our negative interest rate," more negative interest rates, deeper into the negative territory, then gold will be attractive. Gold goes up, South African rand goes up too. But like over the course of the next 10 years, are we still going to be at negative interest rates? You know, I don't think so. Right? But it's still possible that Japan increases their negative interest rates. That would be really good for gold. Is Europe going to do it? Maybe, right? But even that doesn't feel that great. really? Like, right? S&B, but S&B wouldn't go unless Europe's going to go, right? Unless the ECB is going to go. Because remember, they're just trying to peg, basically, right? So, like, if the ECB cuts their rates to be more negative, then Switzerland's going to look more attractive, but they don't want the hot money, so they have to cut theirs, and probably by even more. But Hungarian Central Bank September meeting minutes just released. There you go, Chaba. Reiterates the current level of base rate in line with reaching CPI target medium term. First half of 2018. Wow. 2018's medium term. Yeah. So anyways, guys, if they do make negative interest rates a little more negative, then gold goes up, South African rand goes up, and that's when you start like packing your suitcases full of rand. I was on a flight recently. I can't remember where like I forget where it was, but someone got on a plane and they're traveling in a group of like 3 or 4 people, and the security guard finds like, I don't know, $50,000 in cash or something like that on this person. And so they check the other 3 people in their party, and sure enough, they all got 50,000 in cash. And they're like, "You didn't declare this, and you're supposed to declare it if it's over 10,000." But I forget where it was, but yeah, that's what you probably need to do with the rand. If you get another rally up in gold because of the negative interest rates, I don't know. One last time for one last hurrah for the South African rand, huh? Spend it. So anyways, Euro pound biggest loser currently. La 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 la. It's amazing, huh? Biggest winner, pound Swissy. Just amazing. So here's the daily chart, and this is what I did for you guys a week or so ago, right? Apparently I said breakout, pullback, rally. Oh, snap. Wow, huh? Lucky dog. Life is great, life is grand, life is good. Big moves, though, huh? Okay, big moves, but once again, pivot points are being used and being respected. Check that out, huh? Weekly Central, weekly M3, it's all being used. Now, bulls want this to go up from here. Bears want this to go down, right? So you just choose, like, what are you? In fact, you shouldn't even be choosing. You should already know. So let's say you thought the pound was going to recover. Okay, that's your deal. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's your deal. I don't know. You're going to think something like this. Okay. Now, if you're a bull, it's going to go up to here, and you know there's resistance there. You know it's a reverse fib zone. You know some sort of British pound bozo bull, ning cow poop, right? Gullah bull is going to want to buy pound, drive this down, but you know that you're going to sell the British pound, which means buy this pair. And so you're like, they're foolish, and so it'll come down a little bit and then slingshot up. Okay? The only difference is whether you're a bull or a bear. And I think to some level, both these things will happen. Which one will happen more depends on how many bulls and bears there are. But I think no matter what, it would go up and then come down if you believe this is going to fall. If you believe this is going to rise, it's going to go up, it's going to come down, and then go back up. But either way, almost all of it's going to happen. And of course, you could even get one of these things where it doesn't extend down right away, and we just simply consolidate like this, right? But if you're a bear, sell it high. If you're a bull, buy it low. La 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 la. Is it too early to talk about Kiwi yen? All right, let's do Kiwi yen. Onus is, what do you think about yen pairs today? Yeah, if you want to do them, right? But again, I don't think your bias would have changed. So let's say you want to buy yen pairs. That's why I'm bringing this one up. You have to decide where the support is. Okay? Does that look like a reasonable level of support? Well, this doesn't really help that much, so give it a click. 2 clicks. Yeah, you kind of get this, you kind of get this, I get, right? Hang on, I drew this too far out. Let me grab that a little better. Okay, let me go back to daily. All right, so you get this, you get this, you get this, you get this, this, and this. So maybe we're in a new buy zone. Okay. So if you're a bull, you have all this put together, great. But you still have to ask yourself, where are the bears going to be? Because you know they're going to sell the 5 and the 21 and the fib and the psych. Right? Like like 73.50, 73.49 and a half is going to be a sell zone. And then a little higher up, this is the 618 plus the psychological level. So if you were a bear, for example, and this got to 80, 85, 90, 95, you'd be selling hard, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Well, you probably should be, right? No, Wayne, I like to buy it at 80. Buy it at 80. I remember one time some guy's like, hey man, I made a great trade. I made a lot of pips. I'm like, oh, good job. Where did you buy it? And he's like, I bought it at, 68. I'm like, 68? What kind of person trades at 68? He's like, what do you mean? Nobody buys. That's right in the middle. It's like nobody knows. There's no bulls, no bears, right? You're either you're ridiculously late or whatever. So, anyways, okay. But yeah, if you're a bear, you're going to sell between 80 and 00. Wow, look how small Hillary is up there. I wish you could see it. She's standing next to Al Gore, but she's farther back. So she looks like a midget, but with beautiful hair, though. It's just kind of funny. He like carried her in his pocket. What do you got there, Al? Oh, it's a Hillary. I like it, except it's got Parkinson's. All right, so yeah, so another thing you'd need to do. And remember, I'm analyzing this as a bull. And this is like hopefully a game changer for you guys once it clicks. but I'm analyzing bearish setups even though I'm a bull. See, I'm a bull. I know how to buy it. Buying it's easy. You're at support. You can think of 75 different ways, good and bad, to buy it. You've already decided to buy it, right? A month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. Whatever, you want to buy it, you're at support, so buy it. We'll do something. 5-8 cross, right? You should have bought it down here, dude, or something, or wait for a 1, 2, 3 and then buy it. I mean, the buying it's the easy part. It's just the degree of which of risk you took. Closer to the support, the better, right? That kind of stuff. But and notice it did flip in a strange place. But anyways, your concern as a bull isn't bullishness because you're already a bull for obvious reasons. What's inobvious is what the others are going to do. So the first thing you're going to think of is they have to play the role reversal using price action, right? I mean, it's like law of nature, isn't it? And then what? Maybe a double bottom, maybe a 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's say down to 73,000. Would that be reasonable? Price goes from the 70s all the way above the psychological level and then retraces back to 73,000,000, and then you use the psych level as the support. Oh, look, the sun rose. Hallelujah. Yeah. Good. Hey, it used to rise over there. Now it's rising over there. Voodoo magic. So anyway, so yeah, you use the psych level as your launching pad. Okay, Ona? Next challenge is going to be at 74. But at least you're in at 73, and you're like, worst case scenario, walk away with, triple digits, right? Next one's kind of up here, the 786. Oops. The 786, the psych level, that kind of stuff. Which, because it's so high and because it's basically 100% retracement, before it breaks out, it's going to have to consolidate. Okay. So it's going to go from there. Oops. Okay. Now it's got to come down and consolidate. So where's the support? So Ona, it's funny because you're asking these questions, which is fine, but you should already know what I think about that. You should already know. Did you say USD? Yeah, I think you meant USD yen. I'm a bull on the USD. I'm a bear on the Japanese yen. So, I mean, you should already know. What do I think? I think it's going to go up. But see, that's the part of having a bias, right? You should already know. So like I said, put it down on paper. Are you a bull or a bear? And give logical, intelligent reasons why per currency pair. So if someone says, Wayne, what's your thought on euro dollar? I'm like, look, here's the slides I printed a year ago. You know what I mean? Yeah, so you say, so you would have bought it at support, right? So you're at resistance, right? So Ona says, well, okay, so you're bullish on USD yen, great, but is that resistance? Great, don't buy it. But I'm sure over the last 24 hours, you would have said like, hey, this pivot point that we're sitting on top of might be support. That's where you buy it. right? See, this is where clarity comes in. If someone says, what's your thought on euro dollar? I'm like, well, here's my euro slide. It says I'm a bear. Here's my dollar slide. It says I'm a bull. So I'd probably want to either short euro dollar or not short euro dollar, right? It just really, really simplifies things. So if I'm looking at USD yen, I'm simply looking for the two closest levels of support, and at those levels, I can consider buying. So when you say, well, and Ona says now, whoa, we're way up at resistance, right? Yeah, well, maybe I'll take profit, right? So that's the secret, right? That's the secret sauce. So anyways, guys, looking at this, I'm trying to teach you price action. It's going to come down and use this as the new support and kind of like consolidate before breaking to the upside. But we also know, so that's what I'm hoping for. And there's a lot of hope on that. Right now, Kiwi's being punished by falling milk prices again. And the Japanese yen hasn't been, terribly weak. Right? But there's some opportunities here. But they're a little dangerous because they're not trending. I wouldn't call that an uptrend, right? They're not trending, but they might. And so you have to decide, do you take the shot? And where do you take the shot? When do you start tiptoeing into this? So this is still, if you can see now when I back out the price action, it's still pretty aggressive because you got to buy into falling moving averages. Well, if we get up into here and then dip back, that is at least a little bit better, right? Okay, so it might be beginning, but you don't have to be in the first wave either, right? Don't have to be in the first wave. But I'm looking over here now, all these screens on my left. Pound yen seems to be going up. Euro yen seems to be going up. Kiwi yen, as you can see here, seems to be going up on the shorter time frames, right? Like hour and 15-minute. CAD yen seems to go up. Aussie yen seems to go up. So, there you go. And over there, which, I have a lot of dollar pairs on this side. I have the USD yen. And that's going up. So it seems to me, generally speaking, in my mind, because I'm a genius, I have a yen, Japanese yen index, and the Japanese yen index is falling. Russian central bank. They say by the end of this year, which is only a couple of months, they see inflation around 6%. Wow. Joseph, I just made it up. I looked at 7 currencies, and yen was weak against them. So all 7, so just the yen is weak. Well, I made one. I don't have it. I don't have it up. I haven't used it in a long time, but I made currency indices, and so you can look into it if you want. But what I did was, now you're doing a heat map, Paul, which is, I guess, sort of the same. But one of the things I did was I took currencies and I plotted them against the basket, the equally weighted basket, USD, to calculate things like dollar versus everything. I mean, Canadian dollar versus everything, Aussie dollar versus everything. And I did create currency indices for everything, so I could look at it and say, I had a pound index and a euro index and CAD index. But I generally don't use them because, again, I just look, right? So Paul offered a link to a heat map, which is fine. Most people don't know how to use heat maps, and heat maps are delayed. So very often people say, "Well, I'm buying I'm pound Swissy because my heat map shows the pound strong and the Swissy's weak." I'm like, "Yeah, well that's good, but how does your heat map work?" I don't know. And what time frame are you looking at? I don't know. So just because this pound Swissy was going up yesterday doesn't mean it's going up right in the second, and you're buying something because of your heat map. I'm like, well, why don't you just look at your chart and see that would be a horrible situation. People are taking profit from the trades they did yesterday, and you're getting in, which means you're the liquidity event. They're taking profit, and you're providing the profit, right? So you got to be careful, right? Right. So another question is the COT report correlate? Well, again, COT tells us the positions of institutional investors last Tuesday. Our panel sees inflation too. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Ken. Ken, are you in Russia? Yeah. All right. It never hurts to ask, right? So if I said, if I blurted out something like communist, socialist, pig dog scum, I wouldn't want to insult you. Like, hey, I'm Russian. I'm like, oh, yeah. So, anyways. All right. But how about Putin, Noah? You may not like his politics, but he's doing his job well. He's just rocking it. It's amazing. Right? Unfortunately, he could end up being the enemy. But the United States, of course, under the tutelage of Hillary Clinton, is giving it all back. And I'm not one of these guys that gets all political. I'm Canadian, so like I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. So I don't get caught up on that. I just am. I'm a thinker. And I think we gave away about 50 years of diplomacy in in a very short amount of time. Yeah, yeah. I guess, hey, Joseph, I got to be careful. Huh? Yeah. So like I said, I don't. You may not like his politics, but he's kicking butt. he's hanging out with Turkey to negotiate Syria, and then he's hanging out with OPEC and Saudi Arabia to deal with oil prices. I'm like, dude, Turkey used to be our ally, right? And on the other side, you had Egypt. They were our ally. We controlled Iraq with our puppet dictator. And OPEC, like Saudi Arabia, the President of the United States, at his leisure, had the privilege to just pick up the phone when the economy was slowing down. You'd call Saudi Arabia and say, buy some 747s from Boeing. And they say, sure, we got a whole bunch of them. We don't need any more. But for you, Mr. President, we'll buy some more, we'll place some more orders from Boeing. And suddenly, boom, jobs and all this kind of stuff, and the stock market goes up, and everybody's happy again. And what? The Russians are hanging out with all our old buddies? That's not good. Right? It's sort of like coming home early and finding out your next door neighbor's hanging out with your wife. Just hanging out, nothing's going on. They're just like sitting on the back deck having long coffee. I'm like, what the is this? It doesn't feel good, even though nothing's going on. That's your buddy. You're like, dude, are you hanging out on the back deck with my wife? Somehow it just doesn't feel right, like Saudi Arabia, you're hanging out with Putin? What the hell? Turn my back and I go do this election thing and this is what you're doing? Yeah. So anyways, I mean, it's just, that's not cool, right? Come on, man. You mean Russia and Saudi Arabia agreeing on an oil deal? And what's this thing hanging out with Turkey to decide, what's going on in Syria? Syria, oh my God. Don't even get me going with Iraq, right? What the hell happened there? So anyways, that's QEN. So maybe something setting up there. What else? S&P 500 feels like it's going to go down and then up. What do you guys think? Double bottom on the S2. Aussie. So right now, looks like dollar strong. Aussie is actually weak. CAD is actually weak. That would probably ruin the Kiwi trade. Yeah, even yen just gained some strength against these commodity currencies. Baltic Dry Index down.
On the foreign banks.
Saudi Arabia easing restrictions on foreign banks. Huh? That's good. Cool. Somebody's going to make money on that. U.S. dollar is gaining strength even against the Chinese yuan. Starting to take off. Fine, but pound and euro also fairly strong. So really, I wonder if it's commodities coming down. Do you think it's oil up? Let's track that. That's our inflationary pressure, if that goes away. So how do you feel about oil? Life is great, life is grand, life is good. Now, one way to look at it is, have we made highs? You got yesterday's high, and we tickled that 3 times. Right? Could be a top, don't you stink? So you got to take this old resistance, bring that across. Okay. Oops. Now what? Well, what could be playing, oops, is that. Let's do it. Do 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 do. I guess I gotta flatten it even more, maybe like that. Okay. Doesn't have to be so perfect, but it's just the idea, right? So what, down in there, and then up, and then down. But I don't know. So you got to pick it, right? How are you going to play it? I'd say as long as it's below this upper gray line, the daily M3, 5150, as long as it's below 5150, you sell it. It's trademarked, Jimmy. James, you'd have to send me $100. I was looking at glass bowls on the weekend. My son and daughter are like, oh, these are nice. These are pretty. You should get them, Daddy. They're $8,000. Like, put that down, sweetheart. I think we should go. Yeah, so anyways. Artwork, man. This is my art. Yeah, there's a whole wall of bulls, right? There's a security guard and everything. My kids are like, "Hey, can I take pictures with it with my tablet?" Ugh! Like, oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god. Retreat, retreat. They're like, "Hey, more sales, yeah." You can just see it, like, "Oh, Daddy, I dropped my tablet and knocked all those things over, but I didn't mean to. What's the big deal? Why are you crying?" Yeah. So anyways, that's what I'm looking at technically here. We got weekly pivots, we got daily pivots, we got pivots on your pivots. But really what it is high, no higher high, no higher high. But what else do we have? Lower low, lower low, lower low. Now we're doing lower highs. So it looks like we've stepped down into the lower range, and there may be another step down. Obviously, psych levels are going to be important. Okay. But $50 is a psych level. It's a monthly pivot, I think a weekly and a daily, and all. It's in everything. Weekly central way down here, 49.73. So let's just say $50 is going to be important, right? Duh. So I think I'm done. I think I'm burnt. I think I'm spent. Yeah, I woke up tired this morning. One of those, huh? So be careful out there, right? Make sure you know what you're doing. Like I said, you should be able to write it down, print it out, or write it with a felt tip marker, but you should make a permanent decision on what you're going to do. If you haven't done that, you're simply trading without a strategy. Okay? And that doesn't sound professional to me. Okay? And therefore, you'll know what to do in these situations. And when the market's moving fast in one direction, remember, it's likely to snap back. So the course of action, especially if it's counter to, let's say, your long-term bias, like yens are falling, what do you do? Especially if you want to like have yen pairs go up. Well, what you do is you do lots and lots of puts. 50-50 OCOs, you short it, make your 50 pips, comes back, short it again, make your 50 pips, pulls back, short it again, 50 pips, right? Or cut your lot size and go short, protect it, and then on the little micro pullback, short it again. But your lot sizes are a lot smarter, or smaller, I should say. Short it again, short it again, short it again. But now you got like 8 or 9 smaller trades that you're managing individually, and maybe the 2 or 3 closest ones get knocked out during the volatility, but the earlier 3 or 4 or 5 stay in, and then they move and they're making money, and you're doing these like selling micro pullbacks. But the idea is it's falling now, and that's your idea. But you're managing, instead of one big trade where you're all in short, how you can get knocked out pretty easy, right? You can have 8 or 9 little trades, each with their own stops and targets, and you just instead of picking up crumbs, you're sweeping up crumbs, right? Sort of hit them hard, hit them fast, that type of thing. But really, just spraying bullets, shotgun approach. Yeah, Dan, if the time changes, that's going to affect everyone that utilizes time. So anyways, hey, peace on earth, may the pips be with you, may your profits be above average. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Cheers.